Flexibility. For those people who live in more traditional Japanese dwellings, usually in the suburbs or rural areas, their homes tend to be made primarily of wood. Walls are thin, and often flexible to allow for best use of space. Tatami, matted rooms are often multi-purpose, transitioning from a relaxation space, to a meditation space, to an eating space to a sleeping space. You can move doors and tables, lay the futon out or put it away, host people or retreat from them. To find out more about this idea of flexibility, I spent some time in the home of my friend Daisuke Sanada, CEO of Sowa Architects and Designers. Son of a carpenter himself, Sanada-san built his home with a little help from several carpenter friends, in a small town on the outskirts of Tokyo. He lives with his wife, Sayaka, who is an interior designer, and their family, in a compact, well-thought-out, beautiful space. Sanada-san, who is descended from a famous samurai warrior, has a strong sense of tradition and vast knowledge of his country's heritage. He brings this to his work, along with a contemporary eye and a love of cozy spaces, which help strengthen the bonds of the people living in them. His own home is over 2 stories, the front part double height with a carefully handcrafted pitched cedar roof and a huge triangular window at one end, which makes the trees outside feel like they are part of the house. This open area houses the living, dining and cooking spaces, with a raised section of tatami alongside a wood-fired stove, creating the perfect place for his dog to curl up, for doing some morning yoga or for catching a nap on a winter's afternoon. A simple wooden sideboard plays host to a relaxed display of crumbling yayoi period pots dug up in his friend's rice field. In the region of 2,000 years old, they have been repurposed as simple vases and brought into the Sanada family's daily life to enjoy, rather than being stored away like museum pieces. At the back of the ground floor are a bathroom, bedroom and storage room, and a ladder leading up to the chill-out area and further sleeping space on the mezzanine above. This upper section is divided up using flexible furniture, such as movable bookcases and fabric curtains hung from the roof, to allow for privacy or company, depending on the day. The result is a welcoming home that supports the lifestyle Sanada-san and his family want. It is stylish, yet practical, and soulfully simple. Sanada-san and I spent many hours talking about the value of contrast and relationship in Japanese life, how beauty is found in the existence of tension, light and shadow, sound and silence, simplicity and detail, sublime and ordinary, presence and absence, freedom and restraint, Wabi and Sabi. We talked about how beauty often arises in the middle of things, a conversation, a lifetime, a walk in the woods. And how everything is connected, everything within a space, the inside and the outside, our surroundings and our minds, in our relationships with each other and ourselves in the web of nature. Those of us who do not live in Japanese-style homes can still be inspired by these ideas. We can divide up our spaces with the placement of our furniture, rugs and shelving, and move things around regularly, depending on how we want to use the space, acknowledging that it is never finished and we aren't aiming for perfection. We can repaint walls, swap out displays, bring in some seasonal flowers and plants, and refresh whenever the mood arises. We can pay attention to the visual contrasts, and the relationships between what we see and how we feel. A window is not just a window, it is a frame for all that lies beyond it. A shelf on one side of the room may be a balance for something on the other. Notice how individual things in a room affect others, and how things work together, with the space, the flow, how you live and how it makes you feel. Remember, utility, simplicity, beauty, story. Nature. Nature is an essential element of a Wabi Sabi inspired home, as it connects to the deepest part of the whole Wabi Sabi philosophy, reminding us of the transient nature of life. We will explore nature and the seasons in detail in. For now, consider how you can bring more natural materials into your home. For example, wood with a rough grain, bamboo, clay, stone, dull metals, handmade paper or textures woven from natural fibers. One of my favorite treasures is the old wooden rice bucket we use for storing firewood. Be creative with your ideas. Upcycle. Repurpose. Spend time at flea markets and in vintage and antique shops. Age often adds depth and beauty to natural materials, so don't assume you have to buy new. Spontaneity is to be encouraged. I often mix up potted herbs and bottles of oil in the metal containers hanging in my kitchen. I might use washi tape, low-tack masking tape made from Japanese paper, to stick some fallen nature treasures onto the wall, or put up a makeshift collage of photos alongside my children's bark rubbings and leaf prints. Cut flowers can brighten up a space. Try leaving them a little longer than their peak, and notice the beauty in their fading. It can also be refreshing to embrace a little wildness, using wildflowers and found objects. Even pretty weeds. Go outside and take a look at what nature is offering you in this particular season. What gifts from the forest, or wood, or hedgerow or beach could you bring back into your home? Fallen leaves, berries, conkers, acorns, seed pods, shells, driftwood and feathers all carry the spirit of nature and of Wabi Sabi. Try incorporating some of these natural items into grouped displays in corners of your home, perhaps paired with a favorite book and some old glasses, or your vintage typewriter and a stack of old ribbon. A sprig of winter berries in a small jug. A handful of snowdrops from your own garden. A string of fairy lights on a fallen branch. Details. Attention to detail is something you notice everywhere in Japan. In cafes, in shops, in homes, in temples and shrines, even in public spaces, someone has taken care to add a small detail. These details add to the interest of a space, and can really make it yours. We have a double-height window on our staircase, which used to have long, heavy curtains. They were there when we moved in, and I was loath to remove them because they looked like they had cost the previous owners a lot of money, and to take them down would be a waste. But I went up and down those stairs several times a day, and every time I passed the curtains I felt a little bit resentful. In the end, I realized I was being ridiculous. It was our house now, and we could use it however we wanted. So I took the curtains down. Instantly, the hallway was flooded with natural light. In time, I would discover that at other times of day, the windows would throw interesting shadows onto the landing. Now we could see the deep, wide windowsill. I unwrapped an old, mottled ceramic sake bottle, gifted from a friend when I left Japan, and repurposed it as a vase with a single flower from the garden. Next to it I set out pebbles from the beach, treasure hunted by small hands on a windy day, and I finished it off with a simple postcard which said, "There is a lot of beauty in ordinary things." My little arrangement sits on the right-hand side of the windowsill, with empty space on the left. Every now and then, I'll swap out the flower and the postcard, pile up the stones or move them around. It is my kind of beautiful and offers a moment of stillness every time I go up or down the stairs. Sharing your space. Writing in the 19th century, Lafcadio Hearn famously said about Japan, "The commonest incidents of everyday life are transfigured by a courtesy at once so artless and faultless that it appears to spring directly from the heart, without any teaching." This attention to the moment and the recipient's needs is at the heart of omotenashi, Japanese hospitality. If you have ever spent time at a Japanese ryokan, traditional inn, you will know that the sense of deep relaxation comes not just from the healing waters of the cedar bath, or the cozy warmth of your futon, but from the bowing and quiet attentiveness, and the delicate care wrapped in the phrase "goyukuri dozo," please, take your time. Ichigo ichii is a well-loved phrase that often appears on hanging calligraphy scrolls in the alcoves of tea ceremony rooms. It means, "this meeting, this time only," and is used to remind people to treasure this particular experience as it will never be repeated. If someone hosts you at their home in Japan, however casual the event, you will likely feel incredibly well looked after. This warm-hearted and sincere hospitality is not just displayed in the food and drink you are offered but in the warmth of the welcome, the attention to detail and the presence of the host. Your host might say, "Dozo, omeshiagari kudasai," a polite way to say, "Please begin," and you might respond with a bow and the word itadakimasu. Meaning, I humbly receive this with deep appreciation. This ritual is a lovely way to begin a shared meal. Wabi Sabi, inspired hospitality is not about having a perfectly tidy house, all designer furniture or perfectly well-behaved children. It's about sharing your home in a relaxed, thoughtful way, and being sensitive to your guests. Having said that, we must not forget that the embodiment of Wabi Sabi is the tea house, which is often modest, unassuming, spotlessly clean and bare other than for what has been prepared for the guests. This reminds us to make our spaces clean, uncluttered and welcoming, as far as is possible within the context of our daily lives. Think of the kind of words used to describe the visual Wabi Sabi-esque, natural, humble, understated. These are the opposite of slaving over a hot stove all night to deliver the perfect gourmet 6-course dinner to impress your friends, panicking when you burn the main dish and obsessing about the fact you forgot to make a dressing, while missing out on the real conversation. Pay attention to small details to make your guests feel at home: their favorite drink, fresh flowers on the table, your treasured heirloom tablecloth, something nourishing to eat, cozy slippers, a blanket for stargazing on a chilly night. What really matters is paying attention, lending your ears and sharing the moment.